We all know that scientists cannot explain everything. If they had all the answers, the world would be a dull, boring place because there would be nothing to seek or search for. Mysteries are part of what makes the world thrilling, and we're blessed enough to live on a planet that's full of them. So, join us for today's video, as we're going to explore 15 of the most mysterious finds scientists still can't explain, and trust us, what you're about to see will blow your mind. Let's start off with number 15. Karahan Tepe. Across the dusty plateaus of Şanlıurfa stands Karahan Tepe, one of the oldest ritual complexes ever unearthed. Often called the lesser-known sibling of Göbekli Tepe, this site is anything but second. With over 250 monolithic pillars, stone carvings, and sculpted figures, it reveals the mindset of a people who lived more than 11,000 years ago. Among the carvings is a human head, life-sized, carefully positioned, and oddly isolated. This isn't just decorative. Researchers noticed something strange during the winter solstice. Morning light hits that head before any other stone. In summer, the Milky Way would have lined up directly over the main portal. That level of planning suggests astronomical awareness far beyond what anyone expected from Neolithic cultures. Excavations are far from over, but each season uncovers more detail, sculptures, layouts, alignments that push back the timeline of human intelligence. For now, Karahan Tepe remains a quiet giant in the archaeological world, whispering truths from an age we barely understand. Number 14. Ancient City of Zakiku. When the Tigris River receded in June 2022, it revealed the bones of a city lost for over 3,000 years. Built during the height of the Mitanni Empire, this wasn't a forgotten village. It was a center of power, possibly the ancient city of Zakiku. As the waters pulled back, archaeologists rushed in, racing against the clock before drought conditions changed again. What they uncovered was remarkable. Towering palace ruins, grand administrative buildings, vast storerooms, and signs of industrial activity. A fortified wall, complete with defensive towers, surrounded the site. Even more intriguing were 5 ceramic jars holding over 100 clay tablets, each etched in cuneiform script. Translating them will take time, but they might provide clues to daily life, trade, or even politics during the 16th to 14th century BCE. This city had been hidden beneath the Mosul Reservoir since the 1980s, completely missed during its construction. For now, it's re-emerged, giving researchers a rare and fleeting chance to explore its long-buried legacy. Number 3. Ancient Sun Altar. In a remote stretch of Xinjiang where desert meets mountain, something ancient circles the dust, 3 huge stone rings, nearly 500 feet wide. Locals had passed the site for generations. It wasn't until 2017 that archaeologists recognized it as something more, likely a sun altar, built by nomads over 3,000 years ago. The construction alone is staggering. The stones don't come from this region. Trenches still faintly trace the paths they were dragged across miles of land. The design mirrors Mongolian yurts, linking it to old rituals of solar reverence. That part makes sense. What doesn't is how something this complex appeared long before trade routes, like the Silk Road, ever touched the area. This wasn't a culture borrowing ideas, it was one building its own symbols of time and sky. Every layer, every stone feels intentional. It challenges what historians thought they knew about who influenced what and when. The altar doesn't answer those good questions. It just stands there unblinkingly, bold and silent, refusing to be dismissed. Number 12. The Demon Wall. For decades, the so-called Demon Wall in the Saharid Church of Telemark, Norway, sparked curiosity and a fair share of unease. Hidden high up on the wall and only reachable by scaffolding, the surface seemed covered in thousands of eerie faces, some grotesque, some tormented. Locals believed these were the work of something sinister, perhaps even supernatural, but in 2021, the real story came out. It wasn't demons, it was deception. The wall art turned out to be the work of Gerhard Gotas, a restorer from the 1940s who decided to get creative. He distorted original 15th century religious murals, painting over prophets and replacing them with surreal demonic imagery. And he did it all without anyone noticing. For years, his work passed as authentic until modern techniques finally exposed the truth. Why Gotas chose to vandalize history this way remains unknown. He took that answer with him to the grave, leaving behind one of the strangest cases of art forgery ever uncovered. Number 11. Edwin Smith Papyrus. Among the oldest medical texts in existence, one papyrus from ancient Egypt reads more like a surgical manual than anything mystical. It came into modern hands through Edwin Smith in the 1800s, but the content dates back over 3,600 years. Broken bones, dislocated jaws, open wounds, it outlines treatments with a matter-of-fact tone that feels shockingly modern. While later sections mention magic and ritual, those parts seem like a last resort. The real focus is practical care, diagnosis, and procedure. Instructions even include cosmetic treatments, like wrinkle-reducing skin creams. In an era when most of the world relied on superstition to heal, this papyrus reveals a culture applying logic and experimentation. It's methodical, precise, and often brutally realistic about a patient's chances. No sugarcoating, just ancient medicine ahead of its time. The fact that such a document existed in Egypt while other civilizations leaned on spells and charms says everything about how advanced the Nile society truly was when it came to healing the human body. Number 10. The Durrington Shafts. Stonehenge has been studied for centuries, yet it still manages to surprise us. But there is also this thing. In 2020, researchers revealed a shocking new chapter to the story, a massive ring of shafts surrounding Durrington walls, just 2 miles from the famous stone circle. This newly found structure spans more than a mile in diameter and contains at least 20 precisely spaced, deep shafts, each over 30 feet wide and 16 feet deep. Archaeologists believe the shafts formed a ceremonial boundary, guiding people toward the sacred center of Durrington walls. What really stunned experts wasn't just the scale, but the precision. Whoever dug these massive pits 4,500 years ago had an understanding of counting, planning, and perhaps even surveying. That's not something we'd previously credited to Neolithic communities. As researchers continue digging, they suspect the final shaft count might exceed 30. These findings are now reshaping how we think about prehistoric Britain and the complexity of its ancient societies. And again, it proves history is a bit missing. Number 9. Luta Giants. The Luta Giants are massive geoglyphs carved into the desert floor. Just look at them. What we know is they aren't just decorative, they dominate the landscape, some measuring hundreds of feet across. To the naked eye, they appear as human forms, animals, and strange geometric shapes. But it's the boat-like figures that stirred the most debate. Archaeologist Alberto Najera Rojas believes these glyphs could be telling a story, one that hints at ancient sea travel or even contact with distant civilizations. His most controversial claim, that one of the inscriptions may include early writing, resembling an ancient Sumerian script. Most mainstream experts aren't buying that theory, but no one disputes the age or significance of the figures. Created between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago, these glyphs show remarkable planning and effort. Whatever their purpose, ritual, record, warning, they speak of a culture capable of grand visual storytelling. And until their full meaning is uncovered, they'll keep raising questions no one's ready to answer. Number 8. Temple of the Seven Dolls. Deep in the Yucatan jungle lies the Temple of the Seven Dolls, a name that immediately sparks curiosity and confusion. Well, technically, it's not really a temple, and it certainly wasn't built for dolls. Located in the ancient Mayan city of Chaltún, the structure is now believed to have been an observatory, not a place of worship. So why the name? Inside, archaeologists found 7 strange figurines, each one, for lack of a better phrase, anatomically exaggerated. These weren't any everyday ceremonial statues. Theories swirl, from fertility rites to symbolic royal rituals involving bloodletting. But why would these graphic figures be placed inside an astronomical structure? Well, that part remains unanswered. The Mayans were super brilliant astronomers, no doubt, but the combination of sky watching and these deeply personal symbols suggests a belief system far more layered than we understand. Without any written explanations from the people themselves, all we can do is guess, and every guess only deepens the mystery. Number 7. The mysterious tunnels of Rondônia. In Rondônia, Brazil, entire hillsides hide ancient tunnels that shouldn't exist, at least not like this. These tunnels stretch wide and tall, with walls scratched by claws the size of a man's arm. These aren't mine shafts or escape routes, and they're way too old for modern construction tools. At first, people thought early humans made them. That theory crumbled when they looked closer. The claw marks told a different story, one that points toward an extinct species of giant ground sloths. Massive ones, big enough to shape tunnels 14 feet across. Not everyone's convinced. There's no similar behavior documented elsewhere in the fossil record, and no clear reason why sloths would carve homes beneath the earth. Still, the size, the shape, and the markings all point to a prehistoric force with strength and persistence we haven't quite figured out. Whether it was sloths, ancient humans, or something else entirely, those tunnels remain untouched proof that there's still a lot we don't know about the creatures that came before us. Number 6. The Altar of Vindolanda. At Vindolanda in northern England, a massive stone altar emerged from the soil like a puzzle piece from a forgotten world. It's heavy, beautifully carved, and unusually tall. On one face, ritual vessels sit in simple relief. On the other hand, a figure stands poised with an axe in one hand, what looks like a lightning bolt in the other. Some scholars point to Jupiter Dolatianus, a Roman soldier's god with Eastern roots. Others say it might be Hadad, a storm deity once worshipped across Syria and Mesopotamia. Either way, this altar doesn't fit neatly into Roman tradition. There's no mention of this god in Roman texts, and yet here he is, etched in stone, placed with care. Oddly, this deity seems to have been worshipped almost exclusively by soldiers, not by senators or emperors. That distinction alone raises questions about belief, identity, and how foreign faiths found their way into Roman life far from home. It's a snapshot of religious drift, cast in stone. Number 5. The Pahlavi Petroglyph. Etched into stone in Iran's Tamra Highlands is a message from the past no one can quite decode. This petroglyph, roughly 2,200 years old, carries inscriptions in the ancient Pahlavi script, typically reserved for royal declarations or state edicts. But this one doesn't seem to have been made under any king's order. Instead, it feels oddly personal. Most Pahlavi carvings are grand, official, and accompanied by emblems of power. This one is different. It looks like the work of ordinary hands, maybe villagers with a story to tell or a memory to preserve. Scholars haven't publicly released the exact translation, which only fuels curiosity. Some have even drawn wild parallels between this Iranian rock carving and petroglyphs in the Americas, suggesting a shared origin. That theory doesn't hold much weight yet, but it's easy to see why people are tempted to connect the dots. A single carving, simple yet out of place, has managed to ignite speculation that stretches across continents. What do you think about it? Let us know. Number 4. The Vulture Stone. On a carved limestone pillar at Göbekli Tepe, one image stands out, a strange collection of animals and symbols known as the Vulture Stone. According to researchers from the University of Edinburgh, these carvings may be more than decorative. Their 2017 study suggests the stone could depict a comet strike, possibly the one that triggered the Younger Dryas, a sudden cooling period that began nearly 13,000 years ago. If true, this would be among the oldest surviving accounts of a global catastrophe. The carvings are thought to represent constellations, with the vulture and other symbols possibly marking a date around 10,950 BCE. Ice cores from Greenland support the timing of a dramatic shift in Earth's climate, and Göbekli Tepe's builders may have commemorated that event in stone. Whether or not the theory holds, the vulture stone carries meaning that clearly mattered to the people who carved it. Its symbols, now thousands of years old, might reflect a memory of disaster, or perhaps survival passed down in imagery. Number 3. Burana Tower. In the Chui Valley of Kyrgyzstan stands a weathered brick tower, what's left of a once thriving Silk Road city called Balasagun. The tower, known as Burana, isn't what it used to be. It once reached nearly double its current height before centuries of earthquakes and erosion cut it down. Built in the 9th century by the Karakhanids, it stood next to a mosque and marked the heart of a growing metropolis. That city is now gone. Only fragments of walls, tombs, and the leaning tower remain. But one feature still puzzles archaeologists. The entrance to Burana Tower is set over 6 feet above ground level, with no visible stairs or ramp. Was it built that way for defense, or has the land sunk over time? The real answer is still up for debate. Earthquakes eventually forced the city's abandonment in the 15th century, and now the tower watches over quiet grasslands, its base cracked, its mystery unsolved, and its doorway still hanging in the air. Number 2. Villa of the Mysteries. Near the edges of ancient Pompeii, a luxurious villa buried by Mount Vesuvius still guards its secrets. Among the countless homes uncovered in the city, this one stands apart. Nicknamed the Villa of the Mysteries, it was preserved almost perfectly under volcanic ash since the eruption in 79 CE. What caught archaeologists off guard weren't the furnishings, but the frescoes. One room, in particular, is covered wall-to-wall in vivid scenes, showing a woman undergoing a ceremonial rite. The ritual appears tied to a Greco-Roman cult devoted to Bacchus, the god of wine, fertility, and ecstatic transformation. But nothing in the room directly confirms this. The imagery is detailed but cryptic. Alongside ceremonial objects, there's also a wine press and facilities for olive oil production, hinting at a household both wealthy and deeply ritualistic. Though the artwork is among the best preserved of its kind, the identity of the villa's owner and the true purpose of the ritual scenes remain frustratingly out of reach. Number 1. The Severed Hands of Avaris. Buried beneath an ancient Egyptian palace in Avaris, archaeologists found something they weren't prepared for: 16 severed right hands spread across 4 separate pits. No left hands, no full bodies, just right hands, perfectly preserved in the dry earth for over 3,600 years. At first, no one knew what to make of them. Then they remembered an old tale, long dismissed as folklore. Supposedly, a man could trade his enemy's right hand for a bag of gold during the reign of King Khayan. Some stories even suggest people offered their own hands in desperation for wealth. Whether these limbs were trophies from battle or tragic sacrifices, the idea suddenly seemed disturbingly real. The hands were buried within a royal compound, adding weight to the idea that this was an accepted, maybe even celebrated practice. Either way, the discovery paints a chilling portrait of what power, desperation, and survival might have looked like in the political undercurrents of ancient Egypt. Well, we really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, share it, and don't forget to smack that subscribe button for more awesome videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.